One of the most basic but also important functions are the aggregation functions. What is aggregation? In simple term, summarization. For example, let's say I have a column by the name of sales. I want to sum the entire sales column values in order to obtain the total sales. In that case, we use sum function. So in this case, if you summarize all these values, you get 5000. As sort of aggregation functions, average, count, min, max, sum. These are the most commonly and frequently used functions in any analytics project. To start with, let us understand the count function. Like sum function, count is also one of the commonly used function, aggregation function. In Power BI, when it comes to DAX, the count family includes these 7 DAX functions: count, CountA, CountAx, these 7 DAX functions. Now let us explore each of these functions and understand the difference between them with some examples and use cases. Count function. The count function, to start with, let us see what is a count function. A count function counts only the number of values in a numeric cell, but it excludes the blanks. Next one is the CountA. CountA also same as count, but it counts numeric as well as the text value, but it excludes the blank values. The next one is CountX. CountX is an iterating function. It counts values in a column for a table set or a filtered tables, but it excludes blanks and also excludes Boolean data when it comes to CountX function. The next one is the CountAx function. As the name suggests, it counts all values in a column for a table set or table excluding blanks. Okay. Then we have the distinct count. When it comes to distinct count, it counts the distinct values in a column including blanks. So it will count distinct values even if there are any blanks, it will count. The next one is the count blanks. It counts the number of blanks in a column. And the last one is CountRows. This function is helpful in terms of counting the total number of records in a table. Now let us head back to Power BI and we'll explore each and every count function and understand how each count function works, and also we'll see the difference between these functions. Firstly, what we do is we'll import the data into Power BI. I have already loaded this file into Power BI. Now let us take a quick look at the data that are part of this file. We could see that customer's name, unit sold, sales and active. This column has Boolean values in it, and this is a numeric value and this is a text value. Quickly, I just go to the transform data, Power Query Editor. The Power Query Editor, we will check if the data types are correctly assigned or not. We can check it in the report view itself, but still we will go and see it as a unit sold. This is a whole number and this is also a whole number, and this is active. This is a text value. We want to convert this as a Boolean type. Add new step, because if you want to revert it back, if I add it as a new step, it will be convenient. Next, what is, since we are seeing error here, I just replace the error by either true or false. Now the column active become a Boolean data type and everything is fine. This is a text data type. So now what we will do is we'll go to the view ribbon and we'll do some kind of column profile. When I clicked on this, I could see the active column as the count is 10 here and error is 0 here. We don't see any error. Empty 5. We have 5 blank values are there. So look here, when you count all these null values, 5 records for the active column has some missing values in it. And the number of distinct values are 3. One is true, false and null. 3 distinct values are there. Unique is 1 and the next one is true, false. This I already discussed about this, how to discuss, how to interpret these value statistics in the other video. Probably you can watch my data profiling video. There I discussed in depth about this one. So now when you look at here, how many trues are there? 4. How many false is there? 1. Fine. So this column we could see 5 missing values are there, and when I select sales, even in this column we have 4 missing values are there. 1, 2, 3, 4. When I select the units sold, here also 3 missing values are there. It doesn't take into account of 0, but because 0 is not a missing value, but when it comes to customer's name, it shows empty 0. Though we have some blank value here, it shows empty 0. Something wrong here, or something fishy here. So now let us do one thing. We will just right click on it and we'll try to replace the value blank by, so if you don't specify anything, blank, and replace with some let's say I just say null here. Okay, I'm not going to do anything at this moment. I just simply go ahead and click on the close and apply. File, close and apply. So I'm done with this. It is applying the changes to my model. Now everything is fine. The next one is I just go ahead and create measures to use each and every count function, and then we'll understand how each count functions are working as part of the count family, and with that we can understand the difference between the various count functions. I'm going to click on the table visual. I just drag and drop the columns. Instead of dragging and drop, I just click on the check mark. It will automatically get dragged and dropped here. And the next one is I'm going to select sales, units sold and active. It is not displaying all the records. Look here, we have overall 10 records are there, but when it comes to table, it is not displaying all the values here, because if you look at here, these two numeric variables, just before this we can see the sigma notation. That means it does the aggregation. What I do is don't do summarize. Even if I disable the summarize or enable the don't summarize, still it is not showing the 10 records, because I have another numeric variable is there. Years aggregation is there. So I'm going to select don't summarize. Now if you see here, all the 10 records are visible here. So from this you would have understood, even though you disable the summarize function or don't summarize, if you enable it for a single column, single numeric variable, if you have another numeric variable, if that has been enabled to summarize, still it will not show the detailed records. So hence for these two numeric variable or quantitative variables, I disabled or I enabled don't summarize. So now I can see the entire data here. Good. The next one is I just quickly go ahead and create a measure. We'll start with count function. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. You can see here, we'll start with the count function. It counts only the numeric values in a numeric cell. So what I do is, for a better understanding, I just give the measure name as count m. Count m is, this measure is related to count. For example, I just want to count sales. Sales is a numeric variable. We are done with that. I just create a card here to check whether it is correctly computing the total number of values that are there in the sales column, but excluding the blank values. Perfect. Boom. So when you look at this, overall we have 10 records are there. So for the 10 out of the 10 records, we could see 3, 4, 5, 6 non-blank values are there. Count function gives you the total number of non-blank values. Fine. So the next one is, we will try the count function on this function. Let us see what happens. I just go ahead and click on this, and I just select this visual so that on the right side it helps us to identify the measure which we created earlier by automatically highlighting it, the measure and the table name with the tick mark. We are able to find out. So I'm going to simply copy paste this in the interest of time. I'm going to create another measure. In that measure I'm going to use the same count function, but I will apply the count on the customer's name. We will see what happens. Sorry, I should have changed this one. For example, customer name, some meaningful name, C name, or customer. Press enter. Either you can press enter once you complete your DAX query, or you can click on the tick mark. Yes, now we are good to see this one, but count function gives me all the, it doesn't ignore the missing value or blank value for the customer's name column. So we can, with this we can understand the count function works with the numerical values only. Count function can identify the non-blank values from the numeric variable. It is not working for the text function. The next one is, we will create quickly the other functions. It will take. The next one is the CountA function. What I will do is, I just select this one, simply replace this one by CountA. CountA also compute, or it counts the number of non-blank values of the number and text values, but excludes the blank value. That is the difference between count and CountA. I just click on this one. Now what I do is, I just CountA. Here I just say CountA of sales, but sales column has only numeric value. I just want to test it with the customer's name. When I use this, let's see what happens. On the safer side, I just copy paste it. So now this visual got selected. If I enable the check mark here, this one will get dragged down. See, now even with CountA function, it was not able to identify the non-blank values correctly. It is not doing the, or it is not able to identify the total number of non-blank values. The CountA function, what it does, as per the definition, the CountA function counts the number of all values in a column, including text. But it counts the, takes into account of the blank value also here. There is something wrong here. We will check this one in a little later. We will investigate this shortly. Now let us jump into another other DAX functions. So the other one is CountX function. CountX function counts values in a column for table set or filtered table, excluding blank and Boolean data. that one we will check it out. Now what I do is I just click on another chord. So I just go ahead and create a new measure. I just come here, and here what I do is CountX measure. Okay, the CountX, any function, the DAX function ends with x. That is an iterating function. So for the iterating function, for most of the iterating function, the first argument is supposed to be table name. It should not be a column name, table name. The second argument is supposed to be expression. Counts the, now as you can see the syntax here, counts the number of values which result from evaluating an expression for each row of a table. Sales by customer, what we will do is we will now check the number of total number of values in the units sold column based on some condition. So instead of using the table name, either you can use the table name as a first argument, or you can use the filter function. I'm going to use a filter function. Even in the case of filter function, the first argument is suppose your table, the second one is your filter expression. So in the case of in this case, I'm going to use active column. I'm going to use this as an expression. Active is equivalent to true. Filter only the records. Active status is true. So in that case, only 4 records should get selected along with the blank values, and comma I do this one. So which column I want to sum it? I want to find out the total values. Sales. I just look at the sales here. Filter this data set based on the active status is true. So in that case, only 2 records will get filtered. Within this true records, whichever columns have a non-missing values in sales column, it will compute the sum. Now let us check if our understanding is correct or not. So in this case, I just so now what I do is I just drag and drop this one, CountXM. CountXM 3. Look here. So in this case, though we have 4 true values are there. So the 4 records which has true values in it, the non-blank values from the sales column only it considered, right? 4111 this one, and here it ignored this one. So hence we have 3 non-blank values are there, even though the filtered output of this table is 4 records. We could see only 3 values here. So CountX doing a perfect job. The next function is CountAx. We'll try with the CountAx. I just click on a new chord here. Now I just go ahead and take this one, or better we'll take CountX, because CountAx and CountX, both of them are iterating function. I just go ahead and create a new measure. And instead of AX, I'm going to specify CountAx. I'm not going to change anything. I just press enter. It's working fine. There is no syntax error for this DAX query. I just drag and drop it here. 3. So both CountX and CountAx shows the same output. Now the question is, what is the difference between CountX and CountAx? With CountX, you can find out the total number of non-blank values for strings, dates, and and numbers. But when it comes to CountAx, it counts the total number of values in a column which has date, string, number and Boolean. If a column has a Boolean values in it, CountX will not work, whereas CountAx will work for the Boolean data type also. That is the difference between CountX and CountAx. Now let us go ahead and check this one with CountX quickly. So in this case, CountX function measure, I have checked the status as true, and now what I do is I just go ahead and create another CountX function. I'm not going to disturb this one. Indicate a new measure. Now this time we are going to perform a count on this Boolean column. CountX on Boolean. Active. Now let's see what happens. Now this measure is, we don't see any error here. It got created successfully. Now let us go ahead and drag and drop this measure here. I just CountX Boolean. When I drag and drop this, I could see some kind of error. When I click on this, I could see that calculation error measure. The function from CountX cannot work with value of type Boolean. Hope you understood the difference between CountAx and CountX. Both these function works with the number, string, date data types, but CountX function will not work with the Boolean data type. CountAx in addition to CountX, it works on the Boolean column also. Now we will check that quickly. Now I am going to say active here. Instead of sales, you count the non-blank values of the active for the, I just go ahead and remove this. Anyhow, let it be there. Look here, the CountAx works perfectly for the Boolean type variable. Look here, in this case 1, 2, 3, 4. So four non-blank values are there in this active column, which is of a Boolean data type. So far we explored the count and the CountA and CountX function and CountAx function. Next what we will do is we will explore CountRows. I just quickly create another card here. I just take any one of them here. I just go ahead and create new measure. I just say this one as count. Yeah, we have something called CountBlank. We'll try with that measure. So instead of CountAx and CountBlank, I say CountBlank. I simply go ahead and say, let me do it. I just remove everything. And when I use CountBlank on, let's say, customer's name, so CountBlank, and we have another measure, another count function called CountRows. CountRows will give you total number of rows in a table. I'm going to say CountRows, CountRows of my sales table. That's it. CountBlank will count only the blank values in a column. CountRows will count the total number of rows or records in a table. We will quickly validate the CountRows output. Yes, CountRows gives me 10. Total number of records are 10, and I just select another card visual to check the count blank on the customers column, it shows 1. Perfect. So now what else we are count blanks, count rows and distinct count. Now let's work with the distinct count. I just go ahead and click on this card. I just go ahead and create a new measure. I just say distinct count, total number of, or else let's use customer name. Customer's name, yes. I just select this one. Seven, it shows 7 distinct, the distinct values are 7 for the customers column. Now let us quickly check. Baron is 1, Crust 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It includes the blank values also. Distinct function, distinct count. It counts the distinct value in a column and also it includes blanks. Count blanks, you understood, the counts the number of blanks in a column. CountRows gives you the total number of records in a table. With this, we covered all these count functions, but we are not getting the non-blank values for the customer column. Look here, I just use count function for the customers column. Anyhow, count function will work only for the numeric variable. Now let us look at CountA function. CountA function should count the non-blank values of the numeric and text values in a column. But unfortunately, in the customer column, though we have blank value, still it says the count is 10. There is something wrong here. Now I just go ahead and check my data here. Though I have a blank value here, it is not considered as an empty value. It is not considered as a blank value. There is something wrong here. What I do is I just quickly go ahead and create a column here. Let me do one thing. I'm just going to create a new column. Custom column. I just say this one as a customers. I'm going to use if condition. If it is a blank, so what this one does is it checks if the values in the customer's name column is empty. So in this case, it is considered as empty string by the text data type. The customer's name column is a text data type. In the case of text data type, it considers the blank value as an empty string. So we need to explicitly specify this one as a blank. So now it should work. Now let's go ahead and check. Instead of using customer's name, I just go ahead and this is a calculated column. We discussed about calculated column in another video. I just simply drag and drop this here just for verification. Customers. Both the columns though look same. In this case, it considers this a blank, but whereas here it considers it as an empty string. So now I just go ahead and select CountAM measure. Here I just say customers, the newly created calculated column. I'm going to pass it as an argument. Now let us check if this one counts the non-blank values on your text data type, which is a customers column. Boom, now it correctly counts the non-blank values of this text data type column. In this case, it considered both the text and the numeric value, and it ignored the blank value. So hope you understood the difference between all these 7 different count functions. Hope this helps. Just a quick summary. The count function counts the non-blank values for a numeric column. CountA function counts the non-blank values for all values in a column which includes text, and CountX function and CountAx function, more or less both of them are same, but using CountAx you can count the values for a column which is of number, string, date and Boolean. CountX function also counts the non-blank values for a column which is of number, string, date data type, but when it comes to Boolean it will not count the non-blank value. Instead it will throw an error. The next one is distinct count. It counts the distinct values in a column including blanks. CountBlanks function counts number of blanks in a column. CountRows gives you the total number of records in a table. That's pretty much it.